Viggo, before we chat about Oscars, you just were at the SAG Awards this weekend. You're a past winner there, so you know the drill. How was this one different than other ones you've gone to?
Well, it was a lot of fun. I think it's a bit looser as an event. You know, it's not. I mean, yes, you have to dress up and so forth, but it's. I don't know. It seems a little more relaxed. People kind of speak their mind. They don't have an orchestra playing people off. There's a counter that says, you know, you're almost done. You should finish now. Wrap it up. But a lot of people tend to ignore that, and they're not punished for it. So it was fun. The best thing about it was it's probably the best. Not that I've been to that many award shows, but it was the best experience I've had because I was there with all those kids from Captain Fantastic. I mean, with our whole extended family, I guess you'd say, and Matt Ross was there, and his wife was there, and we just had fun. You know, we made so much noise that I think it seemed to a lot of people in the room that we had won something, even though we had not. It was great.
It looked like a fun table, especially when you and Catherine are up there doing your presentation, and then it went to the table.
Yeah, that was fun. No, the kids were really excited. I was so hoping. Obviously, I'm sure each of the 5 nominees for best cast were hoping the same thing, but I was really wanting to see those kids up on the stage, you know, going crazy. But we went crazy anyway.
What's it like beyond an individual nomination, which you have, when it is a whole ensemble nominated together?
It's just, well, the onus isn't on you. So were you to win, it's like anything goes. You don't have to, you know, you don't necessarily have to say anything brilliant or just speak for yourself only. It's just, I don't know. It felt fair. It felt like, at least, you know, I'm subjective about it, but that justice had been done in some regard, because I do think that the Captain Fantastic is a movie that will hold up more than maybe some of the others that have been in the mix as far as nominations and things. And I think that our ensemble nomination for SAG, you know, from our peers, did justice to Matt Ross's incredible original screenplay and to just the group effort. It was really I mean, you hear this a lot. People saying, well, it was a real team effort. We were a family. Well, we really were, and we stay in touch. And in fact, yesterday we got together because kids are going their separate ways. Nick Hamilton back to Australia, Sammy Eisler back to Oklahoma, and everybody's sort of, I don't know when, if ever, we'll all be together again. You know, the kids, the parents, and so forth. So we got together and had dinner yesterday, and you know, we were there for several hours and had a great time. And a lot of the little kids are big Lord of the Rings fans, so I surprised them, and 3 of the actors who played the Hobbits, as well as Orlando Bloom, the maximum elf, they showed up, and the kids were, you know, it was great. It was a real celebration. Of course, Lord of the Rings was like a real family thing too, and we've stayed in touch, and I imagine I'll stay in touch with those kids. So the best thing was being all together. As far as my individual nominations, I think there's some controversy there. I think they're doing a recount, and I'm probably not legitimate, but you know, I'm in, so I might as well win. I figure.
No, I don't foresee any recounts there. Well, maybe all of you getting together gave Matt Ross some ideas for a sequel down the road.
Could be. You never know.
Like to see where this family is in, say, 8 or 10 years.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, it's already a couple years since we were shooting, so the kids are much taller, and some of them, their voices are changing, and it's just different. Some, you know, they have girlfriends and boyfriends and other interests. Little Charlie is an incredible pianist. I mean, really classical pianist. He's learned. He's just really smart. You can see that in the movie. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, certainly as far as thinking about what might happen to that family in this story, I think it is one of those movies, and these kind of movies I like, that are not message movies, that don't lay everything out for you. You know, that it's an entertainment. You know, it's not pure escapism, but it is an entertainment. It makes you, you know, you might laugh, you might cry watching it. You certainly will think. But it's definitely one of those movies that when it ends, you almost immediately ask yourself, now what? You know, what are the kids going to be like now in this new situation that they're living in? The adjustment that the father has made, you know, going to school, they're going to be around other kids in society, and finding balance, and let's see what happens. And the kinds of movies that I really like are the ones, the now what movies. You know, I think, for example, the movies I've done with David Cronenberg are those kinds of movies where they end. You know, take for example, History of Violence. That last scene around the table, also around the table, like us in Captain Fantastic. Maybe well, a bit sadder and more tense of a situation, but nonetheless, there's the family. And okay, they're together. And now what?
And the oldest has gone off to college.
Yeah, any opinion is valid there as far as people. I mean, it gives you something to talk about. It's Captain Fantastic is definitely a movie where you ask now what, and you have something to talk about when you leave the movie theater. It provokes discussion, healthy discussion, you know, and among other things. I mean, I don't really like message movies, but I do like movies that provoke thought. And in the case of Captain Fantastic, maybe in some way promote the benefits of listening to other people, especially people who are different, who think differently than you do, and probably are always going to think differently than you do. People whose opinions you've perhaps grown up to distrust or ignore or even despise, you know. And I think the climate in U.S. society now, certainly, I think we could all do a lot more listening to opinions that are different than our own, to people who look differently, to people who come from other places, who sound differently, you know. I mean, there are so many issues of polarization right now in society that I think this movie touches on. And I noticed that, you know, I've done, along with Matt Ross and sometimes with the kids, many, I don't know, I think hundreds since Sundance last year of Q&As all over the U.S. and in different countries around the world as well. And I noticed a shift after the U.S. presidential election that people gravitated toward that side of Captain Fantastic. Let's say the more serious, thought-provoking side, which is, wow, yeah, we have to listen. We have to learn to communicate better. You know, it's fine to shout and ask for your rights and so forth, no matter what side of the political spectrum you come from. But it's important to form your own ideas and know how to defend them. And if someone else comes up with a better idea, to at least be listening, because there might be something there for you. You might make an adjustment. And I think that's what happens in the story. And I think that's why, one of the reasons, apart from it being a really good entertainment, that it's been such a word of mouth phenomenon, you know, because obviously for us to get nominations like we had at the SAG Awards for Best Ensemble, for me as an actor, those don't happen very easily when you don't have the big machinery behind you, like studios that can put ads on TV every day and so forth. It happens because people looked at it, liked the movie, told other people to watch it, maybe watched it again with their friends or family members, and that's what's happened, I find, and I think that's why we have been lucky with nominations. It doesn't happen very often. You guys know better than I do that small independent movies, without that PR machinery, it's rare that what happens to us happens, you know. Maybe one, at most two each year sort of get through.
And to be remembered all that
how
many,
did that happen?
well, to be remembered all that many months later after it came out,
Oh, yeah.
too. It wasn't
Yeah.
one of those end of year where it's top of the mind already.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't tell you how happy we've all been, and each time there's a nomination, whether it's for me or for the ensemble, we're all calling each other, emailing each other, I mean the kids and Matt Ross and everybody, and it's, each one feels like a validation of our, you know, beautiful story.
You've worked with all kinds of directors in your career. What's it like when you work with somebody like Matt Ross, who's also an actor? How is that different for you? Or how does he relate to the other actors on the set?
Well, I think that, I mean, he did a wonderful job. One of the most important things a director can do after casting the movie well is to find a way to adjust to each actor. Each actor is different. There's as many different ways of approaching playing a role as there are actors, I think. And to do that, you have to help people relax. Also the crew. And you know, it's an independent movie. We're moving from location to location constantly. Shooting with kids that have limited work hours. You know, just limited time to get shot what he needed to shoot. A lot of scenes with multiple, you know, with a lot of actors in them. And I never heard any shouting on the set. We always felt, all of us, we were talking about this yesterday when we got together for dinner, all of us, that it was, the greatest thing that Matt did was he made us feel like we had plenty of time. I mean, it's an illusion, because obviously you don't. But that it was just play, it was fun, and that, yeah, we can do this. Yes, we can, you know. That was the vibe all the time. That was the example he set. I've worked with other actors who you know, other directors who were actors before, and it's not a given that an actor is going to know how to direct actors. It depends what kind of actor you are. If you're the kind of actor who prepares meticulously and comes in and just does, you know, you do your thing, whether it's I'm going to have this emotional moment during this part of the scene, or I'm going to do these gestures, and these are my actions, and this is the tone I want to set, and you don't adjust, you know, in other words, everybody else has to adjust to you, which is fine, and some people give great performances that way. If you're that kind of actor, you've obviously not shown much interest in the process of the other actors, and so you probably will not be that helpful to other actors in their efforts to, you know, play their characters well, to help them relax, because you just haven't shown an interest in it. If you're the kind of actor Matt Ross is, who comes in well prepared with his best game, but then wants to see what everybody else brings to the table, so you can play, you know, so that each take, who knows, you want surprises. If you're that kind of actor, then you're going to have a lot of fun. Likewise, working with kids, you know, that old adage, W.C. Fields said, you know, never work with kids or animals. Presumably, I mean, I would think he said that just because you don't know what they're going to do, and they're going to upstage you. Also, I suppose that was part of it. But I think it's the idea, don't work with kids because it's just trouble. They're not going to do what you expect them to do. And Matt Ross obviously loves that. He was confident, in the same way that Cronenberg works, you know. They know that they're well prepared. They know exactly what they want to get on film, but they're open to suggestions, to surprises, to accidents, suggestions even from the crew. And Matt Ross was that way. It was a very inclusive experience. And that's also smart because it's efficient, you know. You don't stop and try to explain, no, I want this, and insist on, you know, just open your mind and see what happens. I know what I've got in mind, I've got a plan. But what if Charlie suddenly decides he wants to climb a tree during the scene? Well, maybe we can accommodate that, rather than getting freaked out. No, I wanted to, as an actor, I wanted to say my line here, and I like this gesture, but I can't do this gesture if this actor won't collaborate and support me 100%. Well, to Matt Ross, and I agree with him, I feel this way too, it's a game, you know, and it moves as you play, and if you're not able to move, if you're not flexible mentally and physically, you're going to have a hard time playing, or at least enjoying the play.
You get so many scripts, I'm sure. When you got this one, what was that first reaction, and how did you know, hey, this is one I got to do?
My first reaction was, yes. It was, look at this thing. No, you really, when you read a script that starts out really well and constantly surprises you, you know, for example, with Captain Fantastic, I thought, okay, it's, actually, you know, at first I was like, what century is this in? Who are these people? And then once they started speaking, like, okay, it's an off-grid family, and it's probably a left-wing, I guess, limited audience, left-wing utopian fantasy, and the obstacles are going to be conservative people, conservative ideas, and that's fine. Let's see where that goes. There have been other movies like that, and they're fun. But it wasn't that. It didn't turn out to be that at all. It's not really a right-wing or left-wing movie. Everybody has their say, you know, from Frank Langella playing the grandfather to Catherine Hahn playing my sister. There are different family models, different points of view about how to raise kids and how to be a family. Moral points of view, and just practical physical safety points of view. and I mean, that they're all valid. I love that about it. And so I'm reading this script and I'm surprised, and it's really good. I'm thinking as often as, okay, this is really good. When is it going to fall off? Or when is it going to be clear that the director or the writer does not know how to end this well or gracefully, or end on a high note, end on a note that's consistent with how well the story is tracked as you're reading it. And it never happened. And normally, the first time I read a script, I'm sitting there with my pen and I'm making notes and dog-earing the pages, and I didn't. I just was reading, and I would stop and go, wow. I might laugh out loud, or I might actually kind of well up and, tear up a little and go, wow, I can't. Or just be kind of, in my case, pleasantly shocked. Wow, I can't believe the father said that. I can't believe those kids are doing that. I can't believe they're having that conversation. Or this contrast between different family models, or the kids from the wilds, let's say, coming into society. I just enjoyed it. I was really stimulated when I finished the script, and I realized immediately, I mean, I've been around a long time, and as you say, I've read a lot of scripts. Mostly bad, because it's very difficult to write a good new script, especially an original story. And I thought, this is really, really beautiful. It's going to be hard to do with all these kids, to find these kids that can do these things, seem that smart.
There's so many speed bumps along the way. Like, it could be a great script, but then you've got to fill in all these other factors.
You've got to find the people. You've got to find a great person to play the grandfather and the grandmother, and you get Frank Langella and Dowd. Okay, that's great. Catherine Hahn, Steve Zahn. All right, and then the kids. I had my doubts. I said to Matt when I first met him, I said, it's an amazing script. And it's rare that a great script becomes a truly great movie, or that the movie is as good as a script. It's just difficult to do that, to execute it. Especially when you have this many characters. A very ambitious undertaking. For Matt, it was his second movie. His first one was really a two-hander for the most part, and less ambitious in scale. And I said, if we don't find 6 remarkable young actors, 6 genius kids who are really passionate and physically able to do all the things that the script requires of them, it's going to be hard to make a movie as good as the script. Almost impossible, really. You can make a good one, because you can't. It'd be hard to make a bad movie from a script this good, but we'll see. Then I met these kids, during the final stages of the auditions for each of those 6 parts. Fortunately, Matt included me. I got to read with all the candidates. And I saw immediately that whoever he cast for these 6 kids, they were all going to be great, and that I better, I guess, get off my high horse and focus on my own preparation, because they're going to be fine. I better keep up.
As when you're acting, most of them, it's either their first film, or they haven't done a whole lot for certain since they're kids. It's a couple of them. George, I'm sure, has done a lot.
Yeah.
But what is your role in that organization once you're there and shooting? Do you feel like a mentor? Do you feel like the on-set father? How did you feel?
I think the example in any movie is set by the director. He's the captain, or she's the captain. And yeah, the lead actor, in this case, I was kind of the leader in the story of this group of kids. And as an actor, I had more experience than all of them. Some of them had no experience, previous experience making movies. But I think my job with them is no different than with any other actor. It's to listen to them, to respect their space and their ideas, and see if I can meet them somewhere halfway that's productive for all of us. It's not that different than working with anybody. I think I don't see kids and go, oh, now I got to put on my special approach hat or something as an actor. It's the same. It's like, well, Charlie shot well, the youngest, who was 6 when we started shooting. He'd never been in a movie, but he was a live wire. He was smart and just free, and with his body and his mind and the things that came out of his mouth, and it was great. I feel like any actor, whether they're stuck in their ways or whether they're free and open, whatever they bring is a gift because it's going to alter, if I'm open to what they're doing, what I've prepared, and suddenly it's not just an engine or some engines that are sitting there. They're actually now running and they're interacting, they're running together, and it's like, how do we cruise along and tell the story together? And that's the same approach. I mean, it was nice. I thought it was really helpful, for example, that Matt Ross, I don't think he ever said action. That was part of, I think Clint Eastwood is that way too, from what I've heard. But Matt would always say something like, okay, Charlie, we're ready. If you just start whenever you want. Or Viggo, okay, whenever you want. It would be that kind of, it was very relaxed, and the emphasis was on play. The kids were really well prepared. They were ready to play. They knew their lines. But if something went awry, you had the feeling from Matt that there are no mistakes in anything that seems like a mistake that could be useful. And if it's not, well, we'll try it again, and so forth. There wasn't any more onus on me than there was on the kids, in a sense. I might have been more based on my experience and my expectations of what this script could become as a movie. I might have been a little more nervous initially. For example, I think it was the third day of the first week, we had to do a very difficult scene for the kids, for everybody really. And I'm sure Matt was worried about it, but he didn't act like he was. And that was when I tell the kids their mother is dead. It's a pretty intense moment for them. And I was thinking as an actor, I was thinking, wow, it's a shame we have to do that so early, before we really become a truly well-oiled machine as a group shooting together. Because it's one thing to prepare, but once the camera's there, it's a whole different, especially someone who hasn't had much experience, it takes a while to get used to the camera being there and just pretend it's not there, even though you have to admit it is, and so forth. But they were so good. It was such an organic process to getting that scene pretty rapidly too, just a couple of takes, few takes, and we had it. And I felt, at that point, I felt that we had cracked it in some sense. I felt immensely proud of them, just as teammates, and really happy for Matt, and relieved personally. I thought, well, we can do anything together now. If they can do that on the third day, we have a chance to make a really special movie.
In hindsight, it was the perfect choice to do it so early.
Yeah, I think it was. It was kind of a trial by fire, but it worked. That does happen sometimes, because as an actor, when you have an emotional scene or a very intense scene or a heavy, a complex, heavy dialogue scene coming up, you worry about that. You sort of pencil that one in your script. Okay, that's that day. That's coming sooner or later, and we're gonna have to deal with that. And sometimes that's not healthy, to wait and get really worried because you're putting pressure on yourself that you don't need to. It's just another day of work. And when you put too much pressure on yourself, you don't tend to listen as well to others, because I've got to perform, I've got to deliver whatever it is you think you have to deliver. And you may not have to deliver anything, The director may have a different idea. And if you're really in your head about having to perform and come through and deliver the goods, you might miss some golden opportunity that another actor offers you by just a look or a gesture that takes you out of your own headspace, your limited headspace, worrying about your own performance. It's like, wait, we're doing this together, That's what you're doing, hopefully, the normal days, the scenes that don't seem that difficult. And also, frankly, it often happens that the scenes that you think, well, that's a piece of cake, I don't have to worry about that one, and those end up being difficult for some reason you don't know. I mean, acting is that way. I think directing probably is too, that directing movies and acting in movies is the most fun job you can have when it's going well. There's nothing that's more fun. Same I would say is acting on stage or even poetry readings, all of which I've done. And when it's going well and you have a connection with the audience and a connection with your character and with your fellow actors, it's great. It's fun, it's rewarding, it inspires you. It just makes you happy. When it doesn't work, it's the most embarrassing thing in the world. It's just terrible. You just, God, I've let everybody down, or this is terrible, and I'm never going to figure this out. That's when you need a really good director, you know. And you don't know when that's going to happen. It can happen in a scene where you have 2 lines, and it's just entering the kitchen and saying, hello, good morning, how are you? You want some coffee? Sure. And you put the grocery bags down. Okay, on paper that seems really easy. And all of a sudden, you're doing take after take because it's just not right. And suddenly you feel really phony. And you get all, and the best thing you can do there is just relax and go, hey, what's going on? I have a thing that I do, which is, it's not really true, but I always, when I come up against a wall, personally, in a scene, it's just not working, I don't know what's happening. I tell myself, well, you know, I'm the only person playing this character, or at least I'm the only person playing this character today, or doing this project. So really I can do no wrong. I am the character. Whatever I say and do, and however I do and say it, is right. There is no other version. You know, so I can do no wrong. Obviously the director will differ, you know, and say, well, I think we'll do another take.
They don't have a replacement Ben, you know, waiting down the
No, but
hall.
you know, I think it's healthy to just allow yourself that, okay, I'm playing the character, let's just start from there, and for some reason I was cast, and I am prepared, so let's just go back to basics. I'm playing the character. It's not about making mistakes, it's all gonna be good. Can it be a little better? Sure, but don't retreat to, I don't deserve to play the part, and I'm an idiot, and everybody hates me, and I'm letting everyone down. That's not constructive.
Well, just 2 more questions, both awards related. One, Ben is now a character that's up for an Oscar, SAG Award, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA. How does that make you feel for the character itself? Not for you, I know you're going to be humble about it, but that this character's got that kind of a showcase.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. And every time that you see Viggo Mortensen for Captain Fantastic, it's more people who perhaps haven't seen the movie, who have thought about seeing it. Frankly, I met people, even though we were nominated, by SAG, for example, during the SAG ceremonies, there were people that said to me, SAG members, who said, you know, I have the DVD, and you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. These kids seem so nice, and I'm like, wow, you haven't seen it yet. That's a drag. But that's the way it is. So every time my name appears with Captain Fantastic, and there's an image of me with that beard as the character, or a clip is played, clips will be played for each actor nominated. I presume that the BAFTA is just like there at the Oscars, and the Spirit Awards, and so forth. That's maybe a few more people that will watch the movie that haven't yet, frankly, and I think that's great. I feel really happy about that.
Whenever I have an Oscar voter in front of me, I always ask this toward the end. You've been voting on Oscars for a while. Take this year out of the equation because you've got some vested interest there. When you typically have your ballot and you're doing your nominations and later on your winners, what kind of stuff's going through your mind? What are you thinking about? What types of performances generally get your most interest and votes?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not an Academy member, so I don't.
You didn't join after your first nomination?
No, but maybe this time I don't know that it's automatic, but maybe this time I'll.
I thought it was automatic. I thought you got invited last time.
I did get invited, but I sort of, and I do have mixed feelings about voting for art. I mean, I've been asked to be a member of juries for photography, for film festivals. I've been asked to join, you know, the Academy here, Academy in Spain, and other places. And I've always said, politely said, oh, I'm not comfortable with. Among friends, I'll talk about why I like this movie, I like that. You know, this is why I like that performance, or the cinematographer, or so forth. But I'm not comfortable officially. I haven't been voting on art, making a judgment on art, but I've been thinking about this a lot the past year or so. And if I do get the opportunity again, if I am invited, there's no guarantee just because you're nominated doesn't mean you're going to be invited. But if I am, I would say yes. Now I think I'd like to, in some way, be part of it because it's a lot more than just voting for awards. Obviously, the Academy does a lot of stuff, you know, film preservation and encouraging people to learn about the history of movies, not just in the United States or North America, but world cinema, and I think that's good. So I've kind of revised how I feel about it.
Okay.
I don't know if it's too late, because I have said
No, they'll
no a
invite you
couple
this,
times.
you'll get, they do that in June, so you'll get invited in June, for
It might-
sure.
Well, but because I've said no before, who knows? We'll see. But I've changed my mind.
Well, we've got it here now. Please invite Viggo again, and he will join.
I will, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's such a wonderful movie. Like you said before, the smaller movies don't often get the attention. They don't have the backing necessarily to get out there. So when one does, I just love the fact that people responded this way.
It is wonderful, and it's wonderful when they respond to a movie that doesn't tell them what to think, really. I think that's great. I would like to say in closing, there's a quote I really like from John Huston about that idea of trying to please people or trying to give them what they want. Obviously, big budget studio movies, they really try to cover all the demographics, and sometimes they water down, trying to please everyone, And John Huston, I may have this wrong, but he famously once said, I'm not interested in pleasing a million people or figuring out what a million people like. I have a hard enough time deciding what I like, and I'm there with that.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.